My name is Olivia Reed, and I'm 29 years old. The night my life split into before and after didn't start with a screaming match or a dramatic confession or anything that would look good in a movie. It started with a buzzing phone on a bathroom counter. It was a Thursday night, ordinary on the surface. I'd just come home from work, changed into an old t-shirt and leggings, and we'd ordered takeout because Liam had a long day and couldn't be bothered to cook. We ate on the couch, half watching some show he liked more than I did, his arm around my shoulders, his laugh a little too loud at jokes that weren't that funny. I remember thinking, he's distracted tonight. Again. And then, like I always did, I brushed the thought away. Long day. He's tired. Don't be paranoid, Olivia. When the show ended, he announced he was going to take a shower before bed. I gathered the empty containers, rinsed them in the sink, and went to brush my teeth. That's when I heard it. His phone vibrating on the bathroom counter right next to my hand. Buzz. Pause. Buzz. The screen lit up, bright in the slightly fogged mirror. I didn't mean to look. I really didn't. For almost 4 years, I hadn't needed to. We'd been together 3, living together in my apartment, my name on the lease, my credit, my emergency fund, for the last year and a half. We knew each other's passcodes. We used each other's phones all the time to pull up directions or playlists. I had never gone looking for something, but the notification preview was right there, in my line of sight. Can't wait for tomorrow night again. From someone named Danielle. Tomorrow night, as in Friday. Friday nights when he worked late at the office. Client presentations. Casual beers with the team. The whole rehearsed speech. For a second, my brain tried to glitch its way into a kinder reality. Maybe it's a coworker joking about a project. Maybe it's a group chat. Maybe. Another message slid up on the screen. Still thinking about last time, same hotel? Something in my chest did a strange, painful twist. That line sounded like it had been pulled from the script of every nightmare I'd ever had about being cheated on. Steam from the shower blurred the mirror. I stared at his name on the lock screen, at the little padlock icon, at the 4 empty circles just waiting for a code. I knew his passcode, of course. We'd set them up together a year ago after my phone was stolen on the subway. 4 digits between us and chaos, he'd joked, kissing my forehead. I don't know how long I stood there arguing with myself in silence. If you pick up that phone, you're crossing a line. If you don't, you might be living a lie. The shower water kept running. He started humming, off-key, like he didn't have a care in the world. My hand moved before my brain caught up. I tapped in his passcode. The phone unlocked. No Face ID error. No. Hey, what are you doing? From behind the shower curtain. Just instant access to the life he'd apparently been living right alongside ours. I opened the message thread with Danielle. The world narrowed to text bubbles and timestamps. Weeks of messages. Months. Explicit emojis, inside jokes I didn't understand. Location pins for hotels I'd never heard him mention. References to what they'd done last time, what they wanted to try next time. Complaints about being so tired at work because last night wore me out, on nights he'd told me he'd fallen asleep on the office couch. My stomach rolled. My hands went cold. I felt like I was reading about some stranger's life, except every detail lined up with my calendar. I backed out of the thread. My thumb trembled. Another conversation sat there, near the top. Tessa. I opened it. Same pattern. Different days. Tuesdays mostly. The nights he said he stayed late to help new hires catch up on reports. Flirty photos, voice notes, talk of a favorite bar they always met at that I'd never once heard about. I could have stopped. I already had enough to know my relationship had been sawn in half. But there was one more thread I couldn't ignore. Jayla, old number. My heart thudded harder. I knew that name. His ex. The one he swore was completely in the past. The one he'd painted as clingy and dramatic when we first started dating. The girl whose social media he claimed he never checked, even though I'd caught a glimpse of her profile on his Explore page more than once. I opened their thread. This time it wasn't just sex. There were I miss you messages. Long paragraphs about how no one gets me like you do. Complaints about our relationship woven between memories of their old one. She doesn't understand my family the way you did. They're so hard on her, but she just takes it. I feel trapped. The earliest messages were from 8 months ago. 8 months of this. 3 women. 3 separate little lives. The part of me that organizes budgets in color-coded spreadsheets kicked in through the numbness. Dates, times, patterns. Thursdays, Tuesdays, Random weekends I'd gone to visit my sister or stayed late at work. My toothbrush was still in my hand. Mint foam sat on my tongue, forgotten. I pulled up my email, forwarded the conversations to myself, all of them. Danielle, Tessa, and every rotten word he'd ever sent to Jayla. Subject line, in case I ever doubt myself later. I deleted the sent emails from his phone, closed the message app, and set the phone back exactly where it had been. Screen down, perfectly aligned with the edge of the counter. The shower turned off. I rinsed my mouth so fast I almost choked, smoothed my face into something neutral, and stepped out of the bathroom just as he pulled back the curtain. He smiled at me, water dripping from his hair, like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. "Hey, Liv, pizza or Thai tomorrow?" he asked. My voice came out surprisingly steady. "Pizza's fine." We ordered pizza. We ate on the couch. I laughed in the right places, said good night in the right tone, and lay next to him while he fell asleep with his arm over my waist, like we were in some toothpaste commercial version of our lives. He snored softly. I stared at the ceiling and counted backward from 100, just to keep my thoughts from spinning off the axis of the earth. The plan had formed while the shower was still running. Don't explode. Don't scream. Don't give him a story to twist. Wait. On Sunday, we were supposed to go to his parents' house for their monthly family dinner. His mom, his dad, his younger sister. Sometimes an aunt or uncle. I loved his family. His dad talked baseball with me while we did dishes. His mom sent me recipes and asked about my job. His little sister called me for advice about internships, and Liam lived in terror of disappointing them. He'd told me that once, half drunk on the couch. If my parents ever thought I was a bad person, I'd rather crawl into a hole, he'd said, laughing like it was a joke. That sentence replayed in my head as I lay there listening to him breathe. If I confronted him alone in our apartment, he'd cry, apologize, spin it as a mistake, maybe even find a way to blame my overreactions. He was good at rewriting things just enough that I doubted my own memory. How many fights had ended with me saying, maybe I did overreact, even when my gut still whispered, no, you didn't. But in front of his parents, with dates and times and his own words on the screen, he wouldn't be able to pretend it was my imagination. I hated that this was where my brain went. I hated that I was calculating strategy in the middle of my own heartbreak, like I was prepping for a board meeting instead of watching my future implode. But I also knew one thing with a clarity that scared me. He'd already started rewriting this in his head. I could see it in the little resentful comments he'd made lately about how I was too close to my family, how my mom always had something to say, how my dad's questions about his job were judgmental. Tiny comments that had seemed like stress vents at the time. Now they sounded like rough drafts of the speech he'd give when he needed someone else to blame. I rolled onto my side and looked at him in the dim light leaking through the blinds. I didn't recognize him, not really. The man who'd cried in my kitchen when his grandma died. The one who'd brought my mom flowers after her surgery. The one who'd held me when I thought I might lose my job during layoffs. That man had also been sending "can't wait to taste you again" texts in the hallway while I slept in our bed. Two truths, coexisting, but only one of them matched the timestamps in my inbox. I reached over carefully and turned off my alarm, setting a new one for earlier. I wanted extra time in the morning to print everything at work, just in case something happened to my email. Then I lay there in the dark, feeling the weight of his arm like a prop from a life that had already ended, and I made a quiet promise to myself. You are not going to let him turn this into a story where you're the villain. By Sunday, I would be ready. The next 2 days passed in a surreal blur. At work, I moved through my tasks on autopilot. Emails, spreadsheets, meetings, while a folder labeled Receipts sat hidden on my desktop. Inside were PDFs of every screenshot, each file neatly titled, Danielle, 8 months. Tessa, 8 months. Jayla, 8 months. I also pulled the lease for my apartment, only my name. Bank statements showing I paid most of the rent and bills. Not because I planned to weaponize them, but because some part of me knew I might need to prove to someone, someday, that I wasn't the one freeloading or manipulating. This was what heartbreak looked like for a woman who managed budgets for a living. A meticulously labeled digital archive of her own betrayal. At home, Liam acted normal. Too normal. He kissed my cheek in the morning, sent me memes at lunch, complained about a coworker over dinner. Friday night, when he said he had to stay late at the office, he got weirdly defensive when I offered to drop by with coffee. God, Liv, you don't have to babysit me, he snapped, then softened immediately. Sorry, I'm just tired. Long week. Yeah, I said, my voice calm. Really long. He came home at midnight, smelling like hotel soap and someone else's perfume. I didn't say a word. By Sunday afternoon, the air around us felt tight, like even the walls were holding their breath. In the car on the way to his parents' house, he tapped the steering wheel in this jittery, restless rhythm. The sky was that clear blue that makes everything look sharper. I stared out the window, my bag on my lap, my phone inside with the PDFs ready, the original screenshot still saved in my email for backup. You're quiet, he said finally. Just tired, I echoed his favorite excuse back to him. He glanced at me, searching my face for something. Whatever he saw must have reassured him, because his shoulders relaxed a little. You know my mom's going to ask you about your job again, he joked weakly. You should practice your positive spin. My mom loves you, I said. She just worries. He inhaled sharply through his nose, then let it out in a slow hiss. Yeah, she worries about everything. Kind of intense sometimes. There it was again, the subtle reshaping. My parents care about both of us, I said. They've only ever tried to help. He didn't answer. As we turned onto the familiar tree-lined street that led to his parents' house, the knot in my stomach tightened into something almost solid. In a few minutes, we'd walk into their warm kitchen that always smelled like garlic and onions and laundry detergent. His mom would hug us. His dad would hand him a beer and ask me how work was going. His sister would come bouncing down the stairs in socks, sliding on the hardwood. And at some point, he was going to lie to their faces. I could feel it coming like a storm pressing against a window pane. The only thing I didn't know yet was how exactly he'd try to twist the story. But I did know this. I wasn't going to let him finish it. Not this time. His parents' house looked exactly the same as it always did. White siding, blue shutters, the front porch with the hanging fern his mom was weirdly proud of. It was my perception that had changed. We pulled into the driveway. My reflection in the passenger side window looked normal. Hair in a loose bun, simple sweater, jeans. The kind of outfit you wear to a family dinner when you expect to talk about work and weather, not detonate your relationship. Liam killed the engine and sat there for a second, hands still on the wheel. You okay? He asked, like he wasn't the one who'd spent the last 8 months living a triple life. Yeah, I said. You? He gave a short, humorless laugh. It's just, they've been on me about stuff lately. I don't want to get into a whole thing, but my mom's been kind of critical. So if anything comes up, just back me up, okay? There it was, the first brick in the story he was about to build. Critical how, I asked, even though I already knew the answer. It would be about my family. It had been trending that way for months. He shrugged, staring straight ahead. They think your family is a lot, you know. Always in our business. Your mom calling all the time. Your dad asking a million questions about my job. It's just overwhelming. My parents ask questions because they care, I said quietly. They've treated you like family. He flinched, just barely. Yeah, well, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. I let the silence sit between us, thick and heavy. Then I unbuckled my seatbelt. Let's go in, I said. The moment we stepped inside, everything snapped into the familiar choreography of Sunday dinner. Hi, sweetheart. Liam's mom crossed the tile in 3 quick steps and wrapped me in a hug that smelled like tomato sauce and fabric softener. You look tired. Are they working you too hard? A little, I admitted, hugging her back. Smells amazing in here. His dad appeared in the doorway, dish towel thrown over one shoulder. There's our favorite power couple, he said, grinning, as he clapped a hand on Liam's shoulder and then handed me a glass of iced tea. How's work, kiddo? His little sister Hannah slid into the hallway in socks, nearly crashing into me. Olivia, she grinned. You have to help me with my resume after dinner. I'm applying for internships, and Mom keeps trying to use words like go-getter and self-starter. Those are banned resume words, I said solemnly. We'll fix it. For a few minutes, it almost felt like any other visit. We set the table. I carried the salad out, while his mom brought in the roast chicken. His dad complained about his team's pitching rotation. Hannah filled me in on which professors were secretly unhinged. The normalcy felt obscene. My phone was in my bag under my chair, heavy with the weight of everything I knew. We settled around the table. Plates passed. Chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. Conversation drifted from Hannah's finals to Liam's job to mine. His mom asked if my mom was still recovering well from her minor surgery. I said yes, that she appreciated the flowers they'd sent. That woman sends thank you texts like it's her job, his dad said, chuckling. We could mail her a single grape and she'd send a paragraph. I smiled, even as a part of me filed away the contrast. how warmly they spoke about my family versus the version of events Liam was about to sell them. About halfway through the meal, his mom reached for the gravy and looked up. "So," she said lightly, "what are you two thinking about for the holidays this year? Last Thanksgiving you went to Olivia's parents' place, right?" Liam put his fork down. Something in the room shifted, subtle but distinct, like the temperature dropped a couple of degrees. "Yeah," he said slowly. "We did her family last year. We were probably going to do hers again this year, assuming things don't change." His mom frowned slightly. "Change how?" He took a breath. I recognized that breath. I'd seen him do it before presentations at work, before difficult conversations with friends. Inhale, hold, exhale, get into character. "I actually need to talk to you guys about something," he said. The room went quiet. Even Hannah stopped messing with her napkin. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. His mom's expression softened instantly. "What's going on, honey?" He stared at his plate for a long moment, then lifted his eyes, making sure to look wounded. No one did injured puppy dog eyes like Liam when he wanted sympathy. "I've been struggling with the relationship," he said, voice thick, "and I need to be honest about why." The fork in my hand might as well have been made of lead. "I don't want to throw anyone under the bus," he added, always a bad sign when someone starts like that. "But Olivia's family has been really toxic, especially over the last year." His mom's face fell. "Toxic? In what way?" "It's constant criticism," he said, staring down as if it hurt too much to meet their eyes. "Judgment. Her mom especially. Nothing I do is good enough. The way I dress, my job, my career path, how much I earn. She picks apart everything, and Olivia just lets it happen. And her dad is always interrogating me like I'm on a witness stand. It's exhausting. I feel like I'm never going to measure up." My jaw clenched. These were my parents he was talking about. The same people who'd brought him homemade soup when he had the flu, who'd helped him pack and move when his old roommate bailed, who'd driven him to the airport at 5 a.m. when his flight got bumped. He swallowed hard, eyes glistening. "I've tried so hard to fit in with them," he continued, "to be good enough, but they hate me. And it's been pushing me to make mistakes, things I'm not proud of." His dad leaned forward, concern etched into the lines of his face. "What kind of mistakes?" "I've been talking to other women," Liam said, his voice breaking on the word. "Just talking," he added quickly, holding up his hands. "Emotional support, from people who actually make me feel valued, because I don't get that at home anymore. It's not physical, it's emotional, but it still feels wrong, and I don't know if I can keep doing this." His mom reached across the table and put her hand over his. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured. "I had no idea it was that bad. Why didn't you say anything?" Tears slipped down his cheeks, perfectly timed. "I didn't want to make Olivia choose between me and her family," he said, "but I'm so unhappy, and I feel trapped." Everyone turned to look at me. There it was, the moment he hoped I'd crack, that I'd get flustered, defensive, maybe start an argument that he could later point to as proof I was irrational. I took a breath, calm, even. "I'm really glad you brought this up," I said. Liam looked momentarily thrown, like he hadn't expected me to sound so measured. "Can I show you all something?" I asked, my gaze moving from his mom to his dad to Hannah. "Because if we're going to talk about who's making who feel trapped, I think it's important we have all the information." His mom frowned in confusion. "Of course, honey. What is it?" I reached down, slid my bag out from under my chair, and pulled out my phone. My hands were steady. The folder on my home screen gleamed up at me. Receipts. I opened the email app, tapped the first PDF. "Liam said he's been talking to other women," I said quietly. He left out a few details. His eyes went wide. "Olivia," he said, panic creeping into his voice. "What are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth," I said. "It's something you and my family apparently have very different relationships with." I turned my phone to his mom and slid it across the table. "These are text messages from Liam's phone," I said. 8 months of conversations with 3 different women he's been sleeping with. The dates and times line up with nights he told me he was working late or out with friends. His mom's face shifted from bemused to confused to horrified in a matter of seconds as she scrolled. "Danielle, Tessa, Jayla." "Keep scrolling," I said softly. "The first messages are from before you ever even met my parents. So the whole they pushed me into this timeline doesn't really add up." The silence in that dining room was unlike anything I'd ever felt. Not empty, but dense. Every breath, every glance, charged. His mom's hand flew to her mouth. She passed the phone to his dad with shaking fingers. Liam had gone completely pale. You went through my phone? He whispered, voice rising. Do you have any idea how invasive that is? That's a violation of my privacy, Olivia. That's illegal. The deflection, the outrage. I'd expected it. Maybe it was invasive, I said calmly. But you've been violating our relationship for 8 months. You don't get to play the privacy card when you're the one scheduling hotel rooms behind my back. His dad's jaw tightened as he read, thumb moving faster. His eyes darkened. These messages are explicit, son, he said finally, voice low. And you told this one you loved her. He tapped the screen. Which one? I asked before I could stop myself. The words came out sharper than I intended. Danielle, Tessa, or Jayla? Hannah made a strangled sound under her breath. Oh my God, she whispered, staring at her brother like she didn't recognize him. Liam's tears took on a different quality. Less sorrow, more desperation. You're all just going to ignore the fact that she hacked my phone and ambushed me? He demanded, looking from one parent to the other. She set this up. She's been planning to humiliate me. This is emotional abuse. My mom had surgery 3 weeks ago, I said softly, turning my attention back to his parents. She asked how she was doing when we sat down. You remember that, right? His mom nodded, stunned. Of course. Which means you probably also remember that when Liam had the flu last winter, my mom took a day off work to bring him homemade soup and change his sheets while I was stuck at the office. That my dad spent a whole Saturday helping him move into his new office. That my sister drove him to the airport at 5 in the morning when his flight got changed. His mom's eyes filled with tears for a different reason now. So, no, I continued, my family isn't toxic. They've been incredibly kind to him. He just needed a cover story for cheating, and blaming them was easier than taking responsibility. Liam slammed his palm against the table, making the silverware rattle. You are twisting this, he shouted. I was vulnerable, okay? I felt attacked. I needed support. It was just talking. His dad's voice cut through his protest like a knife. Enough! The word landed like a gavel. We all looked at him. He stared at his son, eyes hard in a way I'd never seen before. You sat at my table, he said quietly, and lied about this young woman's family to cover your own behavior. You tried to make us believe they were abusive to justify what you were doing. That is disgusting, Liam. Dad, you're not listening. I've listened, his dad said, his tone low, but shaking now with anger. I read those messages. I saw the dates. I know when we met her parents. This isn't about them. This is about you. James, his mom whispered, but there was no real objection in her voice, just pain. His dad took a slow breath. Get out, he said. Liam blinked. What? Get out of my house, his dad repeated, each word carved out of stone. You need to leave now. Dad, please, Liam said, his voice cracking for real this time. You can't just take her side like this. She violated my privacy. She manipulated this whole thing. His mom pushed the phone back toward me without looking at him. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. I think you should go, Liam, she said softly. He turned to me, rage and betrayal battling for control of his face. You're going to regret this, he hissed. All of you. You're letting her poison you against your own son. I met his gaze steadily. You did that on your own, I said. I just brought the receipts. He grabbed his keys so hard they clattered to the floor. He swore, snatched them up, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. The echo of it hung in the air long after his car roared down the street. For a full minute, no one moved. The only sounds were the ticking of the kitchen clock and the faint hum of the refrigerator. Finally, his dad sat down heavily and scrubbed a hand over his face. I am so sorry, Olivia, he said quietly. We had no idea. My throat tightened. Neither did I. Not until a few days ago. His mom reached for my hand with both of hers. Your poor family, she said, voice trembling. If he's been telling us those things about them, has he been saying it to other people too? Has he been ruining their reputation while they're sending him soup? I honestly don't know, I admitted, but probably. Hannah sniffed, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. I always thought your mom was nice, she murmured. She brought me that little notebook when I started college, remember? The one with the encouraging quotes in it. She loves you, I said. She loves all of you. I'm sorry he dragged you into this. His dad shook his head firmly. This isn't on you, he said. You did the right thing telling us. We're adults. We can handle the truth. I nodded, but the words didn't quite reach the part of me that still felt like I was going to be sick. We picked at our food for a little while longer, none of us really eating. The chicken had gone cold. The mashed potatoes congealed at the edges of the bowl. When I finally stood to leave, his mom pulled me into a hug so tight it surprised me. You are always welcome here, she whispered in my ear, no matter what happens with him. Do you understand? I swallowed hard. Yeah, I managed. I understand. His dad walked me out to my car. You're a good woman, Olivia, he said, pausing by the driver's side door. You didn't deserve this. And for what it's worth, your family sounds like wonderful people. I'm sorry our son tried to use them as a shield for his own choices. Thank you, I said, my voice breaking on the last word. As I drove away, the image of Liam sitting at that table, crying and calling my parents toxic, replayed in my mind. He'd tried to rewrite our story in real time, tried to turn the people who had loved him into villains so he could keep seeing other women without feeling like the bad guy. He'd wanted a narrative where he was the injured party. Instead, his own words had exposed him. I gripped the steering wheel tighter as I merged onto the main road, the sky ahead of me streaked with fading sunset. Somewhere between his parents' house and my apartment, the realization settled in with full force. Our relationship wasn't just over. A war had started, and he was not going to go quietly. Liam didn't show up that night. He didn't text, he didn't call, he didn't even send one of those defensive, half-apologetic messages he used to send after fights. Things like, "Can we just talk like adults?" Or, "You're being dramatic, Liv." There was nothing. The apartment was too quiet when I walked in. His shoes were still by the door. His jacket still hung on the hook. A half-empty bottle of his favorite sriracha stood on the kitchen counter like a relic from a life that had just caved in. I went to bed fully clothed. Exhaustion sat heavy on my bones, but my mind replayed every moment of the dinner in perfect clarity. His face when I slid my phone across the table, his voice cracking as he blamed my parents for his affair, his mom's trembling hands scrolling through the texts. His father's voice, quiet, deadly. "Get out." I didn't sleep, not really. The next morning, I checked my phone out of habit. Still nothing. Good, I told myself. Let him stew. Let him figure out which version of the truth he planned to tell the world next. At work, I added a few more documents to my growing folder of just in case. Lease with only my name. Utility bills showing I paid the majority. Screenshots of Venmo history showing exactly how often he forgot his wallet. Not because I wanted revenge, because I knew who I was dealing with. Because men who rewrite history don't stop at one chapter. They rewrite the whole book if you let them. On Wednesday, around 2:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. Ring camera. Person detected. I froze. Opened the app. The footage loaded. And there he was. Liam, letting himself into my apartment with the spare key he'd refused to put on the hook because it scratches the paint. He wasn't frantic. He wasn't crying. He wasn't devastated by the implosion of our relationship. He was efficient. Focused. Carrying 2 suitcases. My pulse hammered. I watched him on the grainy footage move through the apartment, into the bedroom, then back to the hallway hauling clothes, toiletries, boxes. He didn't look around, didn't linger in the space where we'd made plans for the future. He was collecting assets, not memories. 20 minutes later, he walked out with one more suitcase, slammed the door harder than necessary, and disappeared down the hallway. I stared at the screen long after the video ended. No note, no text, no apology, just extraction. When I got home, most of his things were gone. Not all, just the easy stuff. Clothes, shoes, cologne, his fancy razor. He left behind stupid things, a pair of socks under the couch, an empty deodorant stick, a drawer full of charging cables. There was a piece of paper on the counter. No envelope, no explanation. Just his handwriting. You destroyed my relationship with my family. You violated my privacy and trust. You humiliated me to feel powerful. I hope you're happy. Don't contact me. I'll be back for the rest when you're not here. I stared at the note for a long time. Then I took a picture of it, saved it to my receipts folder, and put the original in a Ziploc bag like it was evidence from a crime scene. Because it was. Not a crime. A pattern. The calls from his friends started the next day. First an unknown number, then another, then 5 more in 2 days. I ignored all of them until the 6th call. His best friend's girlfriend, Ava, the kind of woman who used phrases like holding space and emotional labor to justify gossiping. I picked up on the 7th ring. "What did you do to him?" she snapped, skipping hello entirely. There it was, the script. "Hi, Ava," I said. "Nice to hear your voice, too." "Don't play dumb. Liam's been staying with us, and he's a wreck. He said you hacked his phone and edited screenshots to make him look like a cheater to his parents." I closed my eyes. Of course he did. "Ava," I said, calm and steady, "if you believe I somehow fabricated 8 months of detailed conversations, including voice messages, time-stamped photos, and hotel confirmations, in the 3 hours between finding them and Sunday dinner, then I guess I'm a tech genius." Silence. "What?" she said, thrown off. He cheated, I said flatly, with 3 women, one of them his ex. Your friend is not a victim. He's a liar. That's not what he told us. I don't care what he told you, I said. I care about facts. Ava hesitated. He said your family emotionally abused him, that they pushed him into a dark place, that he didn't feel safe around them. I almost laughed. Ava, my mom brought him homemade soup when he had strep. My dad helped him move office furniture. My sister drove him to the airport at 5 a.m. They treated him like a son. Well, he said, you can believe him, I said. Or you can believe the screenshots his parents read with their own eyes. Another long silence. Then quietly, I don't know what to believe. That sounds like a you problem, I said, and hung up. Blocked the number. Silence. A few days later, my phone buzzed again. Not Liam, his mom. I answered immediately. Hi, sweetheart, she said softly. Just checking in. How are you holding up? My throat tightened. I'm okay, just processing. We talked to Liam, she said, voice trembling. He won't admit what he did. He's saying we betrayed him. We tried to help him see reason, but he's rewriting everything. I sighed. I'm sorry. I never wanted to come between your family. You didn't, she said firmly. He did that all on his own. She exhaled shakily. Also, we wanted to warn you. He's been posting things online, not mentioning your name, but writing about privacy violations, manipulation, toxic partners. His friends are engaging with it. It might spread. My stomach sank, but I wasn't surprised. He's trying to control the narrative, I said. Yes, she said, but anyone with sense can see through it. We talked for another 15 minutes. About cooking, about work, about her dog. Normal things to steady the ground beneath us. Before hanging up, she added, Olivia, we love you and you're not alone. I set the phone down and cried for the first time since the dinner. Not because I missed Liam, but because losing the people around him hurt more than losing him ever could. He texted me 1 week later from a new number. I need to get the rest of my stuff. Saturday morning. Don't be there. I typed back. It's my apartment. I'll be here. Come get your things. 3 dots. Then, I don't feel safe around you. I stared at that message until the words blurred. Then I typed, You're not unsafe. You're embarrassed. Stop twisting reality. He replied instantly. This is gaslighting. This is emotional abuse. Exactly what I told people you do. I put the phone down. I didn't answer. You cannot win an argument with someone who isn't speaking the same truth. Saturday morning, he arrived with 2 strangers, a guy and a girl, who looked like they expected to find claw marks on the walls. Witnesses, he muttered under his breath as they walked in. Just in case. In case of what? I asked. He didn't answer. They packed in silence. Mostly. One of them kept giving me dirty looks like I was a cartoon villain. The other avoided eye contact. Liam moved through the apartment like a tornado made of pettiness. That lamp is mine, he snapped. I paid for it. I picked it out. Picking something out doesn't transfer ownership, I said. But take it. I don't care. He took it. 3 hours passed. They loaded boxes, bags, laundry baskets. When they reached the kitchen, he unplugged my coffee maker. I'm taking this. No, I said. I bought that years before you moved in. He smirked. Used past tense. You used to use it. The male friend chimed in, annoyed. Dude, it's a $40 coffee maker. Just let her keep it. No, Liam said, yanking the cord tighter. I deserve it. Consider it payment. For cheating? I asked. For your family, he snapped. He carried it out triumphantly, as if he'd won something meaningful. After they left, I walked the apartment slowly. He hadn't just taken what was his. He'd taken random things that weren't. A cookbook I'd had since college, a throw blanket my sister gave me, 2 of my favorite mugs, half my Tupperware. Why? Because control is never about the big things. It's about 100 little cuts. I texted him. You took things that aren't yours. Return them. He replied, Too bad. Consider it compensation. I didn't respond. Instead, I called his dad. He sighed, long, tired. I'll handle it, he said. I'm sorry. He's acting like a child. His brother showed up the next day with a box. Blanket, cookbook, Tupperware, and, ironically, the coffee maker. He refused to return this stuff, his brother said. Dad made me bring it. For what it's worth, everyone knows he messed up. He's just rewriting history to feel better. I know, I said, but thank you. He nodded awkwardly. You deserve better. After he left, I made coffee with the old machine. It tasted bitter, but also like closure. For a few days, everything went eerily quiet. No texts from Liam, no calls from unknown numbers, no knocks on my door. But the silence wasn't peace. It was the quiet air right before a storm breaks. I learned that when my coworker pulled me aside in the break room. Hey, Olivia, is everything okay? My stomach dropped. Why? He hesitated. Because, I saw some posts from Liam. Something about privacy violations and narcissistic manipulation. He paused. Were you two together? There it was. He'd gone public. I forced a calm breath. We broke up. It wasn't clean, but I'm fine. Then, evenly, I'm not discussing the details at work. That satisfied him. It dropped. At least publicly. But it ignited a new fear. How many people had he told? How many more would ask? How far would he take this? I called my mom that night to warn her. Sweetheart, she said, instantly furious. What on earth would he even say about us? That we brought him soup? That we helped him move? That your father loaned him his truck? Apparently, I said, that was emotional abuse. My mom made a noise that was half scoff, half war cry. If that's abuse, then half the Midwest is abusive. Mom, I said gently, please don't confront him. Who says I won't? Me, I'm saying it. She went quiet, then exhaled long and hard. Fine, she said, but I want you to know something. We raised you to have a spine. You didn't do anything wrong. That made my throat burn. After I hung up, I cried in the shower until the water turned cold. Not because of Liam, because of everything he was trying to take with him as he went down. My dignity, my reputation, my family's goodness. Some betrayals break your heart. Others break your reality. More cracks showed over the next week. My sister called first. Okay, what is going on? Mom's being weird. Dad's being quieter than usual. Spill. I told her everything. Then told my dad. Then my aunt. Family phone trees move fast. Within hours, every relative who'd ever met Liam called to ask for the full story. Every last one of them was furious. My sister said, he tried to smear Mom and Dad. I swear to God. No violence, I warned. We're not doing the Liam versus Olivia civil war. Fine, she huffed, but I'm lighting a candle for his downfall. Mutual friends reacted exactly how I expected. 2 of them unfriended me. Apparently, in their opinion, going through a cheating partner's phone is a greater moral crime than the cheating itself. Fine. Let natural selection take them. But 3 friends reached out privately. One said, I always felt he was weirdly flirty with me at that party last year. This explains a lot. Another wrote, my girlfriend never liked him. Said something about his eyes looking performative. I thought she was being dramatic. The third simply said, he's spinning. Don't let him rewrite the truth. I've got your back. And strangely, their words meant more than all the outrage. Because belief, real belief, feels like oxygen after months of second-guessing yourself. 2 weeks after the dinner, I got a call that genuinely startled me. Ava, the best friend's girlfriend, the one who had screamed at me over the phone earlier. Olivia, she said, voice low, tired. Can I ask you something? Sure. Did he really cheat with 3 women? Yes. You have proof? Yes. She swallowed audibly. He told me you made it up. Edited screenshots to punish him for wanting to break up. And why, I asked softly, would I go through all that trouble when I already had the truth? Silence. He's been living with us for 2 weeks, Ava said. It's a lot. He doesn't clean, doesn't help with groceries. He borrows my stuff without asking, and then blames me if something's missing. And he talks about you constantly, about how terrible you were, about how your family ruined his mental health, about how he's the victim in every scenario. Sounds familiar, I said. He said you fabricated everything. Well, I said calmly, his parents had the screenshots on their phones for days. If I fabricated them, they would have caught it. Another long silence. Then, I believe you. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Okay. I need him to move out, she whispered, but he has nowhere to go. His parents won't speak to him. His sister blocked him. His other friends are tired of his drama. I don't know what to do. My heart softened unexpectedly. I'm sorry you're in that position, I said, but I can't help. I know, her voice cracked. I just needed someone to tell me I'm not going crazy. You're not. We hung up. Afterward, I felt a strange, melancholic pity. Not for Liam, he was reaping what he sowed, but for every person he dragged down with him. By week 3, he'd burned nearly every bridge he had. He moved out of Ava's place after a fight about bills and borrowing without permission. He landed at a coworker's apartment. His parents still refused to speak to him unless he apologized. He refused. Hannah texted me one night. He's still telling everyone you drove him to cheat. Dad's fed up. Mom's heartbroken. I don't know what to do. I didn't know either. I only knew one thing. His family deserved better. His parents invited me to dinner the following weekend. Without him, it felt strange to walk into their home without the man who had once introduced me to it, but they welcomed me with warm smiles, soft hugs, and a lasagna so comforting it nearly undid me. We talked about work, sports, their dog, normal things, safe things. Then his dad sighed and finally said what we'd all been avoiding. We tried to get him into family therapy, he said. He refused, told us we were enabling your abuse. His mom wiped her eyes. A few of his friends called us for details. We told them we weren't discussing it outside the family. She paused. His best friend accused us of choosing you over him. We told her we weren't choosing anyone. We were acknowledging facts. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I'm sorry, I whispered. Her dad shook his head. You didn't cause this. He did. His mom added quietly, I just keep thinking, were there signs we missed? Don't do that, I said gently. I lived with him. I missed them too. Her eyes filled again. He's 30. I thought he had more sense than this. He made choices, I said. You didn't make him cheat. His dad nodded. Still, it's hard not to feel like we failed. You didn't fail, I said softly. He did. We sat there, all three of us bruised in different ways, sharing a grief that wasn't really about a breakup. It was about a person we thought we knew. I left that night feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I knew they believed me. Heavier because it was all so terribly sad. Therapy helped. I told my therapist everything, from the night of the phone buzzing on the bathroom counter to the moment his dad said, "Get out." She listened quietly, took notes, and finally said, You handled this well. You set boundaries. You acted on facts, not emotions. You refused to be manipulated. That's strength. I hadn't realized how desperately I needed someone to say that. She added, You did not cause his cheating. You did not cause his lies, and you did not cause his family fallout. I nodded, staring at the carpet. It still hurts, I admitted. It's supposed to, she replied. Pain isn't weakness. Pain is information. I rearranged the apartment, moved the couch, donated his leftover books, bought a new comforter, kept the coffee maker he tried to steal, but bought a second one anyway, a nicer one. A fresh start deserved fresh tools. I stopped looking at the door expecting him to walk in, stopped checking my phone expecting him to beg, stopped rehearsing arguments I would never actually have. He tried to add me back on social media once. I denied it and blocked him immediately. His mom still texts me occasionally. Recipes, dog pictures, a quick thinking of you. His sister too, sometimes, with updates about school. Their presence is warm, stable, uncomplicated. Everything Liam claimed they weren't. I don't know how long they'll stay in my life. Maybe forever. Maybe just long enough for the dust to settle. But I'm grateful for them, and for myself. For leaving, for staying gone, for refusing to be rewritten. Am I dating again? No. I'm not even close. The idea of trusting someone new feels impossible. My therapist says that's normal. She says trust regrows like hair after a bad haircut, slowly, unevenly, and with a lot of awkward phases. I believe her. I'm not cynical, not broken, not bitter. Just recalibrating. I lost 3 years to a man who built a house of mirrors and tried to convince me it was a home. But here's the thing he never understood. The truth outlasts the lie. The truth always outlasts the lie. He tried to turn himself into the victim. He tried to turn my family into the enemy. He tried to turn me into the villain. But facts don't bend forever. And eventually, even liars run out of people to fool. So yes, I'm single, in therapy, rebuilding. Not how I thought this year would go. But for the first time in a long time, I feel something he never gave me. Freedom. Just me, my apartment, my sanity, my future. And absolutely no one rewriting my story but me.